I cut it off and moved it to this bat to dry it out a little bit more on the bottom. But yeah, you can see it's leather hard. It might be even a little harder. But now the bottom is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and begin to work it. All right. So I'm just going to mark this at 3 different points. I've let it get what you would call leather dry. So now I'm just going to mark like a 120-degree spots. So I'm going to make one right in front of me here. And then I'm just going to guesstimate that there will be another one over here and one about there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want them to be equally spaced. And about 3, I mean, if you make more holes in it, it's just going to bleed the seed out really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these holes out. And basically to do that, let me see if I can, yeah, I guess, yeah, you can kind of see it. But basically I'm going to make a little mouse hole like you would find. Try not to let the knife slip. And just make like something like that. And then also make a mark along the bottom. But you got to be careful not to hit the rim when you're doing this. So I might want my mouse hole to be a little taller. So I'll just go up and then down. And now I've got a basic thing that I'm just going to cut out with this knife. So, and I'm going to do that for the other 2. So I'll see you in a bit. This is, you don't want to watch this. Okay, well, here's the chunk I took out of this one hole. And I'm not done yet. This is kind of rough. I'll go back because I want to try to make the seed spill out of this thing onto the tray. So I'll probably have to cut this down more at the bottom to make that happen. I want it to gravity feed right out. Anyway, be back again in a few after I've cut the other holes. Okay, so now I've cut the holes, but you can see there's a bunch of junk in there, so I'm just going to clean it out by tilting it and emptying that extra clay into my water supply. Or you can dump it into your the tray on the wheel, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Just got to get rid of it. And inside there, of course you can't see it, but there's a bunch of clay that came from the pieces. And also there's some rough burred edges in there. So you probably want to clean that up, or it keeps the clay from flowing. Keeps the seed from flowing, I mean. Okay, so I'm just going to do that for a while and clean these holes up a little bit. And then also I'm going to get the Dremel out and drill some little holes in the base to provide drainage. Now that I've got the beginning holes, you can kind of see through it at certain points. I just like to work it upside down like this, because the gravity will just make the chunks that you're cutting off fall out through the center hole instead of getting stuck in there. Also, once you've got it, upside down like this, you can kind of see the slope of the inside and whether or not it's actually going to feed the seed out, or it's going to sit in there and rot, which is what you don't want. So yeah, I'm still doing this. I should be wrapping it up shortly. And then on the inside, if you have a sponge stick, a lot of the tools I have I ripped off directly from Simon. He's, I mean, I take what I can from different people, but his tools, I didn't like his stick, but whatever. You take the best of everybody. But I liked the sponge on the stick thing is a great idea, and it's simple. For this, I just used a wire tie, stuck a chopstick into a piece of sponge, and I don't even know how long I've had that, but it works pretty well. And it's a good way to get at the inside of this thing and clean out the burrs that are on each hole. But I'm done with that. I can obsess about that some other time. I'm going to get the Dremel out and I'll be right back. And I'll drill the holes in the base. And then the only thing left are to put the lugs on the top that hold it up. So hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have 3 holes in the base at 120-degree locations. So now I'm just going to stick a little hole. I'm just going to drill a little hole in each area where the seed's going to come out to provide drainage, because if it does rain on this thing, and it will, at least in Ohio where I live, it's going to the seed gets wet and it just sits there. It might sit there in a little pool of water, and the birds won't like it too much. Well, they probably eat it anyway, but this is a good idea. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a hole. I'm trying to find the same spot in the concentric ring, and then just put the hole in that same location. So my bit's wagging a little bit, but this is soft clay. It's not going to be a big deal. Okay, there's one. You can also get it from the back side to make sure it's, open, and you can get the nubs off of it, so it's not gonna have a weird, what the, oh, I just shut it off. Genius. Okay, same thing here and same thing on the other one. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, so now I've got those 3 drainage holes. Maybe they're a little bigger than I wanted, but it doesn't matter. The birds are not going to care, and actually the clay will shrink a little bit, meaning that the holes might shrink a tiny bit, and so it's no big deal. So maybe one seed will fall through the hole. No, I doubt that. These are pretty small. They're like a 16th or something like that of an inch. They're like, well, I don't do metric, at least not that well. Let's see, what I know, a kilogram is like 2.2 pounds, so you weigh a lot less in kilograms. So when somebody asks how much you weigh, why would they do that? I don't know. But if they did, you could give them your weight in kilograms. Or you could give them your weight on the moon, which I think you'd weigh less there also, because there's less gravity, and weight is a function of gravity. Nice. Okay. So next up is the lugs that are going to hold the wire and keep this thing suspended off the ground. So allow me to breathe in clay dust. Yeah, maybe not. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is just take a piece of this thing and make some worms, or whatever you call them. and just make the two little nubs that join with that thing, the lighthouse. But because this thing is much drier than this clay, it's going to be I'm going to have to make sure it joins. I'll just have to do a good job on it. So first, I'm just going to work this a little bit, get it at least up to my body temperature, which I've been taking lately to because of the COVID thing. Well, I've just been following everyone around with a thermometer, taking their temperature. Okay, so now I've got a chunk. It's probably good enough. All right, so now I always take too much. So yeah, it's my life story. So now I'm going to just again take this piece and cut it in half. Maybe roll it out on here. I don't know. And it's the dust from the trimming that thing. Crap. Man, I'm messy. I was just thinking about this. Never give me glue, because I will probably end up not only gluing myself to you, but also my hands to anything I touch, etc. It's just, no glue. Okay, so I'm like Charlie Brown with a kite, only glue. So now I'm taking even a smaller sample of this thing, of which I took way too much initially. And I'm just making a little tiny nub thing. And I'm just going to stick it to the side, but I'm going to rough the side up a little bit. I could trash talk it first, yeah, but I'm not going to do that. Kind of did. Alright, so now I'm going to just get this side wet with one drop. I have this, it looks like Satan's pitchfork plus some extra pitches or forks. And I'm just going to scrape this up, make it rough. Oh, like that Rolling in the River song, now I'm going to do it rough. So, okay. I've got a lot of references. They're usually pretty bad. Okay, that one was pretty good. Alright, so now I got my little keg. Maybe I'll even get that, a tiny bit of water, although it's got a ton in it. And then I'm just going to stick it on there in the gooey wetness. And hands a little too wet. Got this thing. And I don't want it to get too long or whatever. I'm going to try to join it with that clay on the top though, so it looks like it came connected, like it was shipped from some factory where this, oh yeah, I'm going to make it straight up and down so it doesn't look all weird. And then I'm going to join the clay together just by smushing it with my thumbs to make it smoothly transition into the piece. That is a giant nub, so I'll probably just squish some off. I don't think it needs quite that much to be supported. And then I'm going to smash it flat. So again, it's kind of smashing it into the other piece of clay, which has had a lot of time to dry. But this seemed to work on the last one. That was my first test pancake piece, which is hanging right up there. Yeah, so you can see it's still functional. Hang on, somebody's knocking at the door. I know this isn't Mr. Rogers, so I'm going to take a break. Okay, so now I've got one nub. So now I just want to go across the ocean to the other side. And this is eyeball. I'm just going to make a mark. Oh man, what does that look? The nub should look like it's going through the center of the circle. If it doesn't, then it's out of whack.
I forgot I need my phone.
Sorry?
I need my phone.
Hey, so yeah, now I've got one done. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we're done with this thing. The base is done. I didn't even trim the bottom or anything. I didn't need it. I mean, this isn't like a, it's a bird feeder, man. So, all right, I'm now roughing up this side. I've still got a bunch of my worms that I use like a 1/16 of maybe. So again, I'm just taking the little fork and roughing up the clay so that I can stick the piece to it. And this may not be the best design. I'm certain that it isn't, but I do like the fact that these nubs are on the outside of the cylinder, so there's no way water can get in to the cylinder through the holes in the roof, because these nubs are going to the outside of the upper cylinder. So the whole wire suspension system is on the outside of the, oh man, you can't see that. Well, anyway, so now I'm just going to add a little water to the wound here. And then I'm going to grab another chunk of this clay, which is much wetter than the clay on there. So I've had it under a cleaner bag for, I don't know, it's been a couple days, I think, that other junk going on, and it dried out in the meantime really nicely. It's pretty much pretty workable as leather hard. So now I've got a little cube, not even a cube. What is that? What's a three-dimensional thing that's not a, I guess, a rectangle thingy that's not a cube? Don't know. It's a box. Alright, now I'm gonna stick that bad boy on there. I add some water to marriage it. It's now married. I pronounce you glob and glob. And yeah, it's a little weird looking. You probably don't see lighthouses with these little nubs on them in real life, but it's hardly noticeable. And this is about the smallest one I've made of these. I used to make these things with pretty tall cylinders so you could put a lot of food in there, but I kind of like them smaller, because that way you can go out and change the food more often and just keep an eye on it, and it doesn't dispense it that quickly. So you don't want the food sitting out there in the rain and stuff, or where it's just not being eaten for long periods. Anyway, I'm going to take a break now. Okay, so here's the one nub. There's the other nub. And you can see they make, they'll be fine for hanging the thing. They're not perfect, but what is? Anyway, and then down here, you got these holes for the seed to come out. And then finally you have the 3 holes for, you know, 1, 2, 3 that are right opposite of these holes for draining. And that's it. The base is now done. Oh wait, no, it's not. One last thing is to Dremel these holes in the nubs when it dries. So it's not totally greenware yet. Well, definitely not the nubs, or as Steven Universe says, the bits. But when these bits are dry, then I'll drill that out so that we can hang. This part will hang and suspend the whole thing by those bits. That's it. See you next time.